the 6 screws holding the factory bed storage box to the inside of the bed. Remove the bed storage box. If you are reusing your original bed box and plastic door, measure a 1/2 inch from the base of the factory box as shown. Extend a line between the measured points around the box. Using a cutoff wheel, trim the box along the line. If you are reusing your original bezel and plastic door, reinstall those pieces using the original mounting hardware. If you are installing the AllPro steel door, install the cam latches or locks provided with the kit into the cutouts in the door. The latches should be installed on the side with the bent tabs as shown. Repeat the process for the second latch. If you are not going to reuse your original plastic door, install the new AllPro bezel pieces. The piece with the larger holes should go directly against the side of the bed around the threaded inserts. The piece with the smaller holes should be installed between the first piece and the head of the mounting screws. Use the original mounting screws to secure the bezel pieces to the bed. Test fit the new AllPro door. If there is excess play between the latches and the bezel pieces, bend the latch arm towards the door. If there is not enough clearance between the latch arm and the bezel pieces, bend the piece away from the door so you can fully close the latch. Install the ARB rocker switch provided with your ARB compressor through one of the rectangular holes in the bed box. If you are using one of AllPro's extended compressor harnesses, you can mount a rocker switch in the box, the cab, or both to control the compressor in the box. Note, the switches are independent of one another, so the compressor can be turned on even if the other switch is in the off position. The side of the box you install your switch should also be the side of the box through which you route the wiring harness for the ARB compressor. The compressor wiring harness and rocker switch can be installed on either the front or rear of the box. Install the provided rectangular plug in the hole that is not used. Mount your ARB compressor in the compressor box, using one of the pre-drilled hole patterns. If you are unsure which hole pattern applies to your compressor, consult the diagram shown. Slide the compressor wiring harness through the slots in the front or rear of the box. Make sure that the end of the wiring harness with mating connectors for your compressor is installed into the box. If you are unsure which end of the harness connects to your compressor, consult the wiring diagrams at the end of the written instructions available on our website. Install the split grommet over the wiring harness loom and snap it into the holes in the side of the box. Install the provided round plug into the unused hole. Connect the necessary connectors of the wiring harness to the connectors on the compressor or locker solenoids. Route the wires for the rocker switch back out of the box through the installed grommet and connect the wires to the appropriate terminals of the rocker switch. Again, please reference the wiring diagrams in the written instructions available on our website. Using the provided tape, cover any unused mounting holes in the box. Leave the bottom corner holes open so any moisture that enters the box can drain out the holes. Before installing the compressor box, it may be necessary to remove the rear driver inner fender liner or wheel from the wheel well to allow easier access to the box mounting bolts. After enough access has been achieved, install the compressor box onto the screws that are sticking through the side of the bed. Note, the box has oversized mounting holes that slide over the threaded inserts in the side of the bed. Once the box is flush against the side of the bed over the threaded inserts, install the provided spacers and lock nuts onto the 2 front and 2 rear screws. Orient the flats in the spacers to go along the side of the box closest to the bend. Tighten the lock nuts onto the mounting screws. The upper rear lock nut will need to be tightened through the cutout on the inside of the box. You can access that cutout through the bed. Once the box is secure, route the wiring harness along the driver frame rail if applicable. Secure the wiring harness about every 12 inches using zip ties to sturdy mounting points. Route the harness away from moving parts which create pinch points, heat sources like the exhaust, and away from direct exposure to debris when driving. We routed the wiring harness behind the 2 heat shields around the exhaust tube on the driver's side of the engine and then up into the engine bay along the brake lines. Once the harness is in the engine bay, connect the appropriate terminals of the harness to a power source, keyed or unkeyed, and the existing ARB switch harness that you plan on using. Reference the wiring diagram and the written instructions available on our website if you are unsure which connections to make. If you plan on mounting compressor or locker switches inside the cab of the truck, feed the necessary connectors through the gland on the firewall below the brake booster and wire the appropriate ARB switches in the cab according to the appropriate wiring diagram from ARB. We found it helpful to use a small stiff wire with the connector taped to it in order to get through the gland. With power running to the compressor switches, test the switches to make sure the compressor turns on at the appropriate time. Remember, if you wire 2 switches to the same compressor, as long as both are getting power, they operate independently of one another and either one can turn the compressor on. We hope this video was helpful during the installation of your Tacoma bed compressor box. If you have any questions or for more products, go to allprooffroad.com.